Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we've got major news. So we've got Polestar. They've secured $1 billion in external funding. This is the business outlook that has been confirmed. The Geely Sweden holding intends to participate in future financial activities when it's required. Richer product mix, global rollout of 2 new SUVs, drive significantly volume and profit margin progression expected in the second half of the year. Efficiency program delivers results. These are the highlights going into this breaking news for Polestar. The Polestar Performance brand announced that it secured $950 million in external funding. That's in US dollars. The company is making strong progress on its strengthened business plan and achieving its 2025 targets. The financing is being provided by 12 leading international banks, including B&P, Paribas and Natixis, Standard Chartered, BBVA, HSBC, and SPDB. This is in the form of a 3-year loan facility. It provides Polestar with the fund it requires to finance the next stage of its development and to cover a large majority of its estimated financial needs. As of the end of December 2023, cash on the balance sheet for Polestar was approximately $770 million US dollars. And that's already been a couple of months, to say the least. You can obviously see how much needed this funding was for Polestar and how positive it will be for the company. And we've already seen some positive signs already. We do have a quote from the Polestar CEO, Thomas Ingerloth, and I quote, "Securing funding from a syndicate of global banks reflects our partners' support for Polestar growth course. Together with Geely's full financial support and access to innovative technology and engineering expertise, we have reinforced our path towards cash flow break-even target in 2025. Now, I want everyone to understand this. In this recent funding for Polestar, Geely was not involved in funding Polestar in this particular investment round. Neither was Volvo. This was all external. And it's clearly stated, published by Polestar, that in future financial funding, Geely might get involved. Obviously, we've known now that Volvo has chosen to give up quite a huge amount of their ownership in the Polestar company. They've handed that responsibility to Geely and ownership, but this, I believe, was very necessary. I spoke about this in previous videos. In order to attract external investors, you need to make your business as friendly as possible. Polestar needs to be as approachable as possible. I'm afraid with 2 major companies like Geely and Volvo, it was just not very approachable. Because for an outsider external investor, it would feel a bit left out, like a monopoly, like investing in a monopoly. Investors want to invest in Polestar with the belief that Volvo having too much control over Polestar and Geely also was just not very pleasant for business. One of these companies had to take a step back, and that was Volvo, but they'll still be involved in R&D, development, manufacturing, sales, and aftermarket, so Volvo will still have a huge input, and they still own a percentage of Polestar. They haven't given up everything. My point is, this was the best decision to make, and it's already resulted in them securing a huge amount of funding. And in a moment, we're going to understand a lot more about what this means for the brand long term. For Geely Holding CEO and a board member, that's Daniel Lee, he has a statement, and I quote, "As a strategic partner and direct shareholder in Polestar, Geely will continue to provide full operational and financial support to the iconic performance car brand going forward. We will retain our shares in Polestar and intend to participate in future financial activities when required. Understand that at the moment it's not required, but perhaps it might be required for the year of 2025. This huge amount of funding that Polestar has right now should be enough to get a lot of the cars to market the Polestar 2. This includes the new Polestar 3 SUV, the family SUV, the Polestar Coupe SUV, that's the Polestar 4, and the Polestar 5, the sports GT sedan, to compete with the Porsche Taycan, the Tesla Model S. And not to mention the Audi e-tron and a few other competitors as well. All these cars will be brought to market thanks to this new funding. But will they need additional funding to sustain them throughout 2025? Yes, they want to be cash flow break even by that point, but I have a feeling that they will probably need more funding for next year. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I'm still thinking long term. This company is fairly new to this space. They've only been delivering vehicles for 2 or 3 years now, so That's not even 5 years. We've got to give them at least 5 to 7 years, maybe even a decade to fully get things together. And based on how it's looking great. I found this on TradingView. Polestar is interested in raising more equity, CFO says. That's a chief financial officer. Polestar is interested in raising more equity, its chief financial officer Per Angar told an investor call on Thursday. Angar spoke a day after the firm said it had raised $950 million loan from a bank syndicate, helping to fill a gap left when Volvo Cars said earlier this month it would stop funding the electric car maker. I would like to have more equity in the company and would try to do some more equity raising to make sure we don't have the remainder need and to also strengthen our balance sheet, he said. Polestar lacks an additional $350 million to reach $1.3 billion in external funding. It has said it need to break even in 2025. Okay, there we go. That's very interesting. So Polestar still needs a little bit more funding to break cash flow even, but obviously they're on the path to that. The amount they've already gathered so far, that's what they've chosen to publish. But it looks like they definitely want to continue getting more funding to further support their business and to be successful by 2025. Geely Holding, which is one of the companies who founded Polestar and recently received a large stake after Volvo exit, said on Wednesday it intends to participate in future financial activities when it's required. So there we go. So if it's like the last opportunity, no one else is investing in Polestar, then Geely would consider that. Over 12 different banks. When Volvo steps away and they give up a huge amount of shares and a huge amount of control, this is more appealing for external investors, because if I'm going to invest in your company, I want to know that you don't have a monopoly over the company. And if the owner also owns the other company that owns a lot of the same company, it's a triangle. It's a Volkswagen and Porsche situation. It's very difficult to take over VW or Porsche because of how these companies are formed and set up. It's almost as if they don't want to be taken over or they don't want too much control outside of the company. And I find a similar kind of event taking place with Volvo, Geely, their involvement in Polestar. For an external investor, they're thinking to themselves, does this really benefit me? It sounds a little bit risky because Geely and Volvo has so much control in the Polestar company. And also Geely owns Volvo. So it's almost like a triangle situation that just goes around in a circle. And it's like, wow, do I really want to invest in a company that seems a little bit risky? And it's risky in the sense that perhaps the people who own the company have too much control. So anyone investing outside of that company will have too little control. Investors don't always like that. Unless you're Mark Zuckerberg, who can convince all your investors that it's in their best interest that Mark Zuckerberg holds the majority of voting shares. That's an interesting situation where Mark Zuckerberg can't legally be fired because he owns majority of the shares that are controlling the voting decisions in the company. It's a multi-shared structured company. That's what Meta is. I know we're going off topic, but essentially, it's set up this way so Meta can still get investors with one share that gets you sort of like a percentage of the company. The other share gets you votes in the company, and Zuckerberg owns most of those shares. The most important shares to have is the ones with the votes. It's also good to have shares in the actual company itself. But that just gives you revenue. That just gives you revenue and a certain amount of control. But the votes, who's going to vote you out if you have all the control of the votes? Exactly. And I think this is what external investors are worried about when investing in Polestar. Volvo is left now. They've given up the majority of their ownership. They still own 18%, but it's so much less. So it's the risk of investing in Polestar is significantly reduced. Polestar is much more approachable as a company to invest in. The Geely CEO also says, and I quote, Polestar will have full access to technologies and engineering expertise from Geely Holding to realize its global growth targets. This is brilliant. And it has that support from Volvo as well. Still do. So delivering on strengthened business plan. We spoke about this quite recently in the start of the year. Polestar had a slightly change of mind, a slightly different approach to business plan because obviously they were short on fund. They had to switch things up. It was very much necessary. So it says here, the financing that has now been agreed will be accompanied by a comprehensive program from Polestar. Amongst the other measures, 10% of jobs have been cut since mid-2023, with a further 15% to follow this year. And I believe what Polestar is doing is essentially trimming back based on its employment numbers simply to maintain its financials a lot better. If the roles are not necessary, and it's not just Polestar, lots of companies have been firing people in the last few years. Some of the more larger tech companies have been firing tons of people. But of course, when Mercedes and BMW fires people, no one writes about it. But if Tesla, Polestar, Rivian does that, everyone writes about it. So that's just what the EV market is. It's very clickbaity. And I say that myself because I'm a YouTuber and I like to clickbait sometimes. Now, Polestar has thus made significant progress on its strengthened business plan for a 2025 target, achieving cash flow break-even, annual volume of over 155,000 vehicles, and a gross margin in full high teens. Now, this is brilliant. Essentially, what it's saying is the business plan and the 2025 targets, achieving cash flow break-even, that's the first one. The second one is annual volume of over 155,000 vehicles. Polestar is aiming to deliver over 155,000 vehicles in 1 year, next year. And that will be extraordinary. But of course, this year is the precursor to that. They're just building upon what they've already built upon. They want to expand on the sales of the Polestar 3, the Polestar 4, and bring the Polestar 5 to market. This will go from a one-car company to a 4-car company and eventually a 5-car company with the Polestar 2, 3, 4, 5, and the Roadster Polestar 6. That's 5 different vehicles that they'll be actively selling eventually. But for now, they're focusing on turning it into a 4-car company. This will be brilliant for them. So far, they've only been selling 1 car. Do not be surprised that this company has underperformed in stock price, in revenue, in profits, margins, everything. Do not be surprised. They've only been selling 1 vehicle. That is not appealing to everyone. Now they're bringing new vehicles that will be appealing to a lot more people. I can only say one thing. This company has a great future. And I think a little bit more patience will go a long way for this company. So I'm here to be patient for Polestar, seriously. Now, at the same time, Polestar was able to expand its model range with 2 high-margin SUVs. Thank you, Polestar. The Polestar 4 sales are accelerating around the world. Woo! We spoke about this recently, that some of the Polestar, I believe it might have been the Polestar 3, like the pre-sales. I believe they had to close down some of it because I think the orders, they were getting a lot of orders. People are saying it's because of current volumes. How can it be for current volumes when they've only just begun on the Polestar 3 manufacturing? Polestar 4 manufacturing started sometime last year. Now it's being ramped up. So if anything, they'll be building more Polestar 3 and 4 in the future. So if it is indeed what you say that it's current inventory, well, what about their future projections for inventory? Or you mean to tell me that they're getting so much orders, they had to rethink the amount of vehicles they're making? In other words, they want to make even more because of the orders they're getting. But it's not just about current inventory. Clearly, they've underestimated the demand of their vehicle, the future vehicles, clearly. And I think that's what they're reiterating on their own post. It says the Polestar 4 sales are accelerating around the world. Polestar 3 has now started production in China and has also successfully completed test production run in South Carolina. That's the USA. Prototype Production 5, a progressive performance GT, will also accelerate in 2024. The prototype production of the Polestar 5 will also accelerate in 2024. This car, I believe, will be fully unveiled this year, but is coming to the market in 2025. Next year, Polestar will be delivering 4 different vehicles. I want you to understand something. We've been here from the start. We've been patient, and we're going to get rewarded. Thank you. Thank you, Polestar. It's all coming together. It just takes time, and it's a little bit of patience, to be honest. Now, finally, in addition to securing the $950 million in external funding, the recently announced new shareholder structure in Polestar provides a solid basis for the brand's further business development. Geely Sweden Holdings will become the second largest shareholder, and Volvo Cars intends to retain 18% stake in Polestar. I'd like to just clap for a moment. Reason being is because I thought we spoke about this already. I made it clear there is no way Volvo will give up 100% of their stake in Polestar. That doesn't make any sense. They would make the same mistake Mercedes made when Mercedes sold 10% of Tesla like 8-7 years ago. They lost over $100 billion when they did that, by the way. At the time, it wasn't worth that, but now, a couple of years ago, at the highest price Tesla's ever been, it was worth over $100 billion. So understand something. Volvo, it will be completely nonsense if they just sold their 18% stake. This is their company. They started this. This is their racing team, their racing division that they started and built into a real company. The Polestar 2, the Polestar 1 are all based on Volvo design that was translated into being a Polestar vehicle. Volvo is not just going to give up their best investment ever and not gain any rewards. Of course not. So I'm happy to see that Volvo retains a huge stake. 18% is no joke. That's a huge stake. But any more, and external investors will be questioning a lot of things. So it has to be a decent amount. Can't be too much, can't be too little. Now we've got more statements from Thomas Ingleth, and I quote, "This marks a new phase in Polestar business plan. The efforts of recent years are paying off. We improve our cost basis, secure financials, and are ramping up our product offensive. Both SUVs now sharpen the brand, targets one of the fastest growing segment in the industry, and position us strong volume growth and profit margin progression for the second half of 2024. That's what the CEO had to had. That's what the CEO had to say. This has been fantastic. Now, one of the things before we can end this video is just to reiterate the fact that the shares have sort of done really well today. Today's the 29th of February. I'm going to edit this video today and upload it today, quite soon actually. Ladies and gents, what we have here is the Polestar stock. We've done incredibly well in the last day, over 13.66%. And thanks to my smart investment strategy, I'm only down 9%. Thank you. Thank you. I haven't invested much into Polestar. I never did. And one of the reasons was I have a strategy that I use. A lot of people don't use this strategy. I'm not going to explain it because it's not financial advice, but I've spoken about it before. But I must say, my investment in Polestar, it is starting to pay off. We've trusted the process. A few like myself have trusted the process of Polestar. We knew it would turn around. And this is just a start. This is nothing. Wait until next year when they can be proven to be cash flow break even, when they're delivering over 4 different vehicles. Imagine how well they'll be doing by then. The shares will still go back down now. And I hope they do because I want to buy more shares at a cheaper price. But like I said, I'm in it for the long bet. And I've bought shares at a slightly higher price, but what I've did is I've bought a lot more when it was cheap, and that's paid off. It's not financial advice, it's just my opinion. Just before we close out this video, I'd like to hear what the Polestar CEO has to say. Let's check it out.
Today, we have announced a major milestone. Polestar has secured $1 billion in external funding. This provides us with the resources to complete the next phase of Polestar's development, where we grow from a one-car company to the lineup of Polestar 2, 3, 4, and 5. Polestar 3 production has started, and preparations in the US plant, its second footprint, are in full swing. Polestar 4 sales are picking up rapidly worldwide since the car configurator's life. Customers have fallen in love with the 4. Polestar 5 final prototype series are being built this year in the purpose-built factory dedicated to its sports car aluminum bonded technology. These 2 performance SUVs position Polestar for strong volume growth and strong margin progression from the second half of 2024. With secured funding and 3 cars in production, we are making major progress this year towards cash flow break-even in 2025. Our market up positions Polestar as the performance car brand in the electric age. And with today's news, we look with great confidence into the future of our company.
I think that's where we'll end the video. I think I've had a lot to say. I think I've got my point across, to be honest. We're going to go from a 1-car company to a 4-car company next year. Eventually a 5-car company. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. This is huge news. I'm a lot more excited than I look. Trust me, I'm a lot more excited than I'm acting. Hope you're excited as well. Leave a comment. I'll be trying my best to reply to as many comments as I want. This is a special video. Let's try to reply to as many comments as possible. I'm even thinking about making a live stream about this. If you want a live stream, let me know. I might even do it. I might do it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.